Hey, and happy Tuesday. We were off yesterday. It was, of course, Martin Luther King Day, and the courthouse was closed. It was also Inauguration Day, so there's a lot going on Monday. I can't remember when the last time or if it's happened where Martin Luther King and Inauguration Day was on the same day, but there's a lot going on. We are at work Tuesday, but the clerk of court has excused the jurors this week. With inclement weather starting, I've been told, I don't know if it's announced yet, but the county courthouse will be closed tomorrow. We're supposed to get some snow tonight, and don't know anything about Thursday yet, but we'll just have to see on that. The good news is that we're not in court this week, so it really won't slow down the jurors that she excused was here for a civil case. So you got criminal court where somebody has robbed somebody or shot somebody or stolen something. And you've got civil court where there might have been a traffic accident, a slip and fall, but it's all held in the same courthouse. It's just two different courts, two different standards. But the first 2 weeks have been absolutely awesome from our standpoint. We're 2 weeks in, we've tried 2 murder cases. These guys work very hard, and I'll address those sentences. But before that, there was a plea in a drug trafficking case. This new guy that we've got, Brandon Lanier, is just doing an incredible job. I don't think he's been here, but maybe came in September, so 4 or 5 months, and he's already tried a case, and it's just turning out a lot of good work. Webster Arnell Thomas, 37 of Myrtle Beach, pled guilty Monday to trafficking in crack cocaine, and Brandon was the prosecutor on that case. A new judge came in, a visiting judge, Dobie, and sentenced Webster Thomas to 10 years in prison for trafficking in crack. Now that's an 85% case, so Mr. Thomas will have to serve 8.5 years before he becomes eligible for parole. Really good job, Brandon. The other 2 cases are the 2 murders. That first murder started the very first week we were back, but it lasted 2 weeks because there was a stand your ground hearing in the first case, and that was what some people refer to as the Nacho Hippo case. But it was a young lady that was working at Nacho Hippo. She had constantly been arguing back and forth. They'd only worked together for like 10 days, but she was arguing back and forth with a co-worker, and her name's LaFrida Todd. She ordered, she called her brother or texted her brother and told him to bring her a gun to work, and she also asked for some cigarettes and some beer, and when the victim walked by, Quentin Johnson walked by, she stepped out of the room and shot him. A stand your ground is a hearing where the defense is asking the judge to bar the state from being able to go forward. The judge quickly saw through that and denied stand your ground, and that case went into the second week, where a jury had it for about 30 minutes and convicted LaFrida Todd after 2 weeks of, now they didn't sit him for 2 weeks. They sit him for like 2 days on the first week, and then maybe 3 days the second week. The state only had maybe 14 witnesses, so our part was over and done with quick. The defense put up a number of witnesses, and the jury saw through all of that and convicted her Judge Culbertson gave her 36 years in prison for the murder and the gun charge that went along with it. She'll have to serve those 36 years day for day. There's no 85%, there's no parole on that. So she's serving 36 years. The second week, that started that first week, I think January 3rd or 4th. On the 11th or 12th, we started another murder case in another courtroom with a different judge, Judge Hyman, and Jim Stanko tried that case with Anthony DiCero. They were able to convince the jury that Charles William Murphy, 56, had killed his estranged wife or girlfriend. And that case started on Monday and was over with by Wednesday with the jury. Had found him guilty, and he got life imprisonment without possibility of parole. And I know we're about out of time, but it repeats saying, because every time you get all of these comments, whether it's on our side or on one of the news stations, two things. First of all, the state is the people that represents the community. We come up and I think we've done an excellent job going forward with these murder cases and getting these convictions. It's tough because you got a defense attorney on the other side that represents just that defendant. And in LaFrida Todd's case, that case had been continued over and over and over. So the people that are commenting about how long it took, say it louder for the people in the back. We're right there with you, but it wasn't on us. We prepared this case for trial. The judge, at the defense's motion, continued it. We prepared it again. The judge continued it again. We prepared it again. The judge continued it again. And finally, they asked for it to be continued the next time, and the judge said, no, you've got to move forward. So one of the comments by a family member for Quentin Johnson was that, basically, finally. I want you to realize we're saying finally too. We would be much better off trying it as soon as it's humanly possible to try. But that was 3 continuance and then a 4th request for a continuance. And you don't want to live in a world where the state not only calls the case to trial and prepares it, but also makes all of the movements around it. That is a third party. That's a judge, and that's what the judges do. And there were several different judges that granted continuances. It wasn't just one judge. Now, there's a difference between LaFrida Todd. She got 36 years. In the other case, he got life imprisonment without possibility of parole. That's 2 drastically different sentences. And I get that, but what you've got to understand is there's 2 different judges. There's 2 different versions of facts. There's 2 different defense attorneys. There's 2 different defendants. The 2 different defendants could have drastically different records. There's a lot that goes into it. But we get to put the case up, we get to prepare it, we get to prove guilt or innocence. The judge is the one that sentences. The judge is the one that decides on when the case is going to go forward. So I don't want anybody thinking that they took this long to go forward and they gave this guy this sentence. The state didn't. The state presented testimony that ended up where the jury found the people guilty, and then the judge sentences. In murder, you could get as much as life imprisonment or the death penalty, and you can get as little as 30 years. But because that is such a harsh sentence on the front end, 30 years minimum, most of those cases have to go to trial. And you know, of course, they did go to trial. Both of them in this case were offered a plea agreement to manslaughter. Both of them rejected that plea agreement. This is a hot button issue, and I get it and I understand it. Why would you offer anybody anything on murder? It would have been after talking to the victim's family. There are advantages because presently speaking, both of these defendants are sitting in a prison cell somewhere writing up their first appeal, and that appeal is going to take a while. Where guilty pleas take a lot less time. That guilty plea for Webster, that case was a 22 case, but generally most of these pleas take a lot less time. And of course that was drugs instead of murder. But remember this figure because it's real. We are going to get not that many murders, but we're going to get 10,000 warrants in Horry every year. We're going to get 2,000 in Georgetown every year. In Horry, we are going to get approximately 26 weeks of court to try cases in. We're going to get 26 weeks of court to do pleas in. You can handle 3, maybe 4 warrants a week. In Lafreda Todd, there was 2 warrants. That moved 2 warrants in 2 weeks. This other guy, he had 2 warrants that moved. Now you got to do something with the other 9,994 warrants. And some of those will end up in plea. But most of them are going to end up in plea. But a lot of these cases will have to be pled because any way you divide out 10,000, you can't try each and every one of these cases. You cannot do it. There are 15 other circuits. There are 44 other counties. And there are 49 other states. And none of them can do it either. Even in the federal system, you've got to have some pleas. I'm not saying I like it. If we had more of a federal system where there weren't but 400 warrants coming in a year, we could try the majority of those 400 warrants. But you can't try 10,000 warrants in 26 weeks. Can't do it. If you doubled the amount of time, you can't do it in 54 or 56 weeks. You just cannot do it. So we've got to offer plea agreements. And one was offered in these 2 cases, but Murphy rejected that and he ended up with life imprisonment. Lafreda Todd, she rejected it. I think that one was like 20 years. She rejected it and she ended up getting 36 years. But you've got to offer something to make these cases move, or you're going to be sitting on cases 5 or 10 years old. And we just cannot do that. They will be dismissed by the judiciary. So it's not a perfect system, but our employees did as much as they could do with it and got 2 very good verdicts. And we're going to continue throughout the rest of the year trying these cases and trying to get one by one the people that have already rejected plea offers, have already been arraigned, and now are set for trial. So be careful going forward. It looks like we're going to get some snow. Stay off the road if you can. And we'll be back Monday, hopefully, to update you on another topic.